So I'd like to welcome everyone to WSI's Digital Power Hour series. Now today's webinar is entitled How Playing the Comparison Game Can Gain You a Competitive Advantage. My name is Cheryl Baldwin and I'm the Director of Marketing Communication at WSI's corporate head office, and I'll be your host today. Now before we get started, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. Everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, please type them into the question box. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so feel free to submit your questions as the webinar is happening and they're fresh in your minds. And in case you miss anything during the webinar or want to revisit what is discussed or can't stay on the whole time, don't worry. This webinar is being recorded, and the WSI consultant or staff member that referred you to this webinar will email you the recording. Also, feel free to chat and live tweet about the webinar as it's happening. So just use our official hashtag, WSI Digital Power Hour, when doing so. Now, in case you aren't familiar with who we are, WSI boasts the largest network of digital marketing consultants across the world. We have offices in more than 80 countries internationally and provide digital marketing solutions like website design and development, pay-per-click, social media, email marketing, and we're capable of being a company's one-stop shop for their entire digital marketing strategy. If you would like more details on any of the services we provide, the WSI consultant who referred you to this webinar would be happy to connect with you. And if you were referred to this webinar through one of our head office channels, then simply just get in touch with us after the webinar, and we'd be happy to connect you with a consultant in your region. Okay, now let's get on to talking about our speakers for today. So joining me to present and talk about why competitive research is an important component of every digital marketing strategy is Francois Muscat. Now Francois is a WSI digital marketing expert based in South Africa and has over 12 years of experience in the digital industry. He's not only an experienced digital marketing speaker and trainer, but is also an avid blogger and the author of the content marketing chapter in our book called Digital Minds. Now I know Francois has some great information to share with you on how playing the comparison game will give you a clear view into your overall competitive advantage. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Francois.
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl. Good day to everybody. It's good evening here in South Africa, and I'm sure all over the world it's good morning, and maybe somebody in Australia, good night. So what are we going to cover today is competitor analysis. And why should we worry about what our competitors are doing? And the most important thing in really doing well online, you'll see, is having a good web presence. So I'm going to show you how a good web presence looks like. And so once you know you're playing the game and you have a good presence, we have to benchmark and see how well do we feature, certainly on Google for most of the time. And we're going to look at how do you analyze your competitors' web presence. One of the key things is really understanding what your competition is doing, so that you know that you can work on a strategy that is not wasting money and is actually specific to being successful online. And near the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you sort of an example report, the type of reports that you'll be able to get from your WSI consultant who actually invited you to this conference. So why should you worry about your competition? I mean, many people say, well, I don't really want to worry about my competitors. I should just really do what I need to do. But one of the things that's important is to look at is there something that you could do better online? So many times we are doing something and we feel we're successful, but we don't really always know this. Now there are many tools available online, and one of the things about being successful is that you need to be more visible than your competitors, certainly on Google, and have a solid presence. Social media today plays a huge part in word-of-mouth referral, and it's also social proof. It actually tells others that there's some substance here. If I share a page, that is liked, and I'm telling my people and my fans, One of the biggest things in online is content, and I mean you'll hear this over and over again in many conversations out there, is that you've got to be providing relevant content that's interesting to your target market. So don't really be in a sales mode, you're more in an engagement mode and an educational mode. So if you look at the graphic on the side here, you can see that Amazon's online sales really dwarf a lot of other companies. And all of these companies, they might not be Amazon's competitors or direct competitors, but it just shows you that these are statistics and information that is pretty much freely available for just about any company that is online. And one of our challenges is actually knowing what our competitors are up to. So for instance, if you wanted to know should you be on Google Ads and how much you should be spending, well, if you looked at the Google ad spend, and these are the top 10 ad spends on Google by these companies, and you can see that Amazon is almost double what the second person is. Now, sure, they're not all in the same business, and Amazon sell digital products, so there's not a lot of cost to stock, and this is why they can spend $50 to make $52 and still make a profit, because they don't have that huge infrastructure. But if you were looking at this and companies like Sears and Walmart wanting to compete with one another, they will have a look at each other's budgets. They want to see what keywords they're targeting. Is there anything new or strategic that they're doing? So this type of stuff is available, and obviously it's been made available because people find it interesting. So the biggest challenge that you face is that you might not be aware of your competitors' search engine rankings. So you go onto Google and you type in social media marketing or digital marketing or something to do with travel, hoping to see where you rank. And let's say you are ranking well, and you might even be ranking above your competitors. Well, do you know all the keywords that they rank for? Because they might be quite smart in a way that they're targeting search traffic. The other thing with social media is this is your community. So if you can find out what profiles that they have and the activities that they do on social, you'll get a very good idea of how they're engaging with their prospects and target market, and specifically the brand experience that they provide people on social media. So if we're looking at this and we're saying to ourselves, are we really getting the best results for the effort that we are doing? So you would be involved in doing some search engine optimization, and that is obviously driving traffic to your website for typically it's the main keywords that your products and services are about. If you don't do really well on Google search with organic search, then your alternative is to buy that traffic. And of course that's where it gets expensive, because you would be engaging in AdWords, and every year the price just goes up because you have more and more competitors coming in and pushing the price up. And Google's doing very well on it, but sometimes we might not be getting a good return on our investment. So when we're looking for alternative ways of driving traffic to our website besides buying it from Google, well, certainly a good way is from your social networks. So Twitter, if you tweet something and you drive someone to your website, you could look at that as, I've just paid Google $5 to get a visitor, and here a tweet can get me a visitor. So this is the way you start to work out whether your social media, actually your activities on social media, give you a return on investment. And of course we hear this term, inbound marketing. Really what it means is that when people are searching for information, Google wants to give them what they want exactly at the time that they're looking for it. So if you, one of the things I always talk about is write down all the questions that people ask you about your products and services, every one of them, even if there are hundreds, and start thinking about how you're going to answer them on blogs and writing them out, because each one of those would be an entry in Google And of course, if someone is typing a question and you're the one who's providing the answer, well, that's one up for you, because if you weren't providing the answer, you ask yourself, who is? That could really be a competitor of yours that's doing that. So what I like to do is put the whole web presence thing into perspective, because there's a basic requirement to be competitive online. Now, gone are the days of building a 5-page website and thinking you're going to dominate Google and do really well with it. So if you're looking to have a complete presence online, you're going to need definitely your website and a blog. A blog is probably one of your most important properties, let's call it that way. It's where you can put your content on it. It's your news. And they're really easy to update, very easy to share on social media. So I always look at it as my newspaper, and I look at the social media channels as someone who's selling the newspaper and shouting out, read all about it, and sharing it. So it's pretty much like a radio station, promoting something. So a lot of people don't have blogs, and they just start to engage on social, and then you don't have a lot of substance to talk about. You're talking in really short status updates. And what drives traffic to websites nowadays, certainly with the way Google is looking at the website, is content. And so having a strategic plan on the type of content that your prospects would look for, the type of stuff that they need to be educated on, is really key. So you shouldn't just be writing content, get up in the morning and wonder what you're going to write. You should plan this way ahead. And of course, the final thing is it working for you? Well, Google Analytics tells us all of that. So once you put your analytics on your website, then you'll be able to see what's going on. So, I challenge all of you that if you're not watching your analytics, you pretty much, are driving without a map. So let me show you how we build a web presence. The first thing you want to do is identify who your personas are. This is your audience. So in this case, as a WSI consultant, and we do digital marketing, my personas is marketing people, sales, have business owners, and customers. So when I talk about a customer, they're somebody who comes back to a website. So they've already been there. They might have been a prospect, so they might look for something different. So we're always in this funnel stage of looking for information. We don't know what this is about. What is competitor analysis about? Let me go and type some questions in and see if I can learn from that. Once I find that out, I'm going to say, well, who does it? Let me compare the different companies that actually provide competitor analysis. And for me to become into a decision stage, then we're looking and saying, well, how much does it cost? What is the contract like? Have you got any testimonials, that you've done for people before? So when you've actually done this persona exercise and you know what they want, the next thing is you build your website for those people. We all make the mistake of building the website for ourselves, but it's really for them. They need to identify themselves, and if they do, it's quite easy for them to navigate. So I call your web property strategy your destination. So this is your building, like McDonald's on the corner, or in every corner. And if you have at least 10 web properties, which would be a website, a blog, Twitter, Facebook, and a few of those, then if you type your name into Google, you will own the first page. And that's already the beginning of what we call online reputation management. You're controlling the page of Google when your brand is up. So one of the things I always say is, hey guys, do a Google search on your name and look through the first 3 pages. Look at every entry and see whether you like what Google is presenting to you. So we call that the destination, and anybody coming to the office or the shop, the destination, is expected to be sold to. So when you bring social media into it, this is what we call the conversation. So we're not selling, we're educating. And we need to be on the channels that our personas are on, our target market. So if they're not on YouTube or they're not on Twitter, you probably don't need to be there. But in most cases, because we have different age groups, people use different channels for communication. So in these channels, we're having a conversation. And we're really teaching and educating people. And the key number here is your social reach. If you add all the connections that you have on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and so on as a total, that's how many people you can reach with one story and almost one click in today. Now, whenever you write something on social media, ask yourself the question, what do I want that person to do after they've read this? And if you're not providing a link that drives the conversation to the destination, you can't really measure the effect and the value or get the return on your investment. You might be tweeting all day long, but you never stick a link driving traffic to your website. And that's why I say a tweet can be worth a Google ad. And of course, your third one is your mobile strategy. Make sure that you handle local searches. This year, local search has surpassed desktop search from phones, okay, and it didn't take long. Over 3 years, I was watching the numbers. It was 12%, 30% last year, and this year it's gone to 50. So what do people do when they go on their phones and they do a search? They're looking for local information. They're looking for office location, contact details, and such. So think about it. Why don't you get onto your phone, get onto your website, and think like somebody who's looking for local information and say, will someone find my office hours? Will they be able to click to dial with one finger because they're in their car? Am I giving them a good experience? And once again, drive all this traffic, to your social media. Once you have this platform, that's the key. Publishing your content. Now you know where you're going to put your content and how you're going to, publish it. So I'm always saying now, this is our public relations. We've got to start thinking like publishers. So plan your content. Create a content calendar, for the year. Have a theme for each month. Maybe write 4 articles per theme, and work on driving, and educating people along those lines. When you put your content together, something magic happens. You start getting assets in Google. Every entry on your blog post is another entry. Every blog post is another entry in Google. And very soon, Google's going to be indexing tweets again. They used to do that, and it's coming back again. So imagine tweeting, and someone is searching, and those keywords are there, and this is how you start building a presence online. So for those of you who are only using a 5-page website, driving traffic just on 5 keywords, you might be missing out on a big opportunity for providing content, which we call the long-tail keyword. And of course, the final thing to work it all out is the web analytics. So you certainly need to be looking at your Google Analytics and checking out where your traffic is coming from. Is it coming from search? Are you getting enough from social? So, look at this and compare that, to your current web presence. And if you feel that you're missing some parts, this is where, one of your WSI consultants can help you, maybe get you a responsive website. So this is a website that looks good, on all 3 screens. So once you've got that presence, then you're ready. You can't join this competition, the Olympic Games, unless you've done some practice. So, what we want to do now is let's go in and see what our competitors are up to. So there's always, there's 3 things that I like to look at. And one is your search visibility. So, what are you doing on AdWords? What keywords are you targeting? Which ads are, very interesting, and which ads are actually working? So, with an ad, if it's written well, it generates a click, and that's called a click-through. So we're always trying to get people to click through to our website. So you can learn a lot by looking at other people's ads and, compare them to yours and see whether you can tweak yours any better. The next thing is organic search. So this is the search engine optimization part, and you'll find that content plays a big role here. So this is where, if your blog has got the questions, and you tweet out questions, and you're linking to content that supports that, this is where you'll build a big search presence online. And you'll see that some sites have hundreds and thousands of keywords that are ranking, and you would never know that unless you evaluated them. And then, of course, are they involved in banner ads? So with your content, if you're not into content marketing, like you're not writing anything, you might wonder what you could write about. So if you found what content is working well on your competition and how people are sharing it, you would get ideas and say, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. I could create an ebook with these 5 tips on something like this, and I see that's really popular on Facebook, so let me do that and see whether it worked. So at least you're being more focused, and you're working towards driving this traffic and building a web presence. And then the other thing which a lot of people are involved in nowadays is getting into social media and trying engagement. And the key here is engagement, okay? This is not about fans. The person with the most fans is not necessarily the winner. If your fans don't engage with you, in other words, that they don't comment on what you're saying, well then, what value are you getting? Because you're not having a conversation if someone is just giving you a thumbs up. So, we always find that, starting and having a conversation online does one thing for you. It helps you develop a relationship with somebody that you haven't physically met yet, but someone that you could build trust in. So by being a little bit more open and being transparent so people get to know you, because I always say, people deal with people that they like, and people deal with people that are like them. Okay, so if there's some commonality, we sort of like that. So how do we find this information about our competitors' web presence? Well, we're very lucky today that there are many tools available online that can help you, really extract a lot of information. Now, I'm going to share with you these tools, and this is us in WSI being transparent with you. These are some of the tools that we use, and one of them is called WebScan, and this is our proprietary tool that we have. And what it can do, it will review your website against best practices. So it'll give you a score, and you can quickly see whether your technology is not that great and it's not, accessible on mobile phones and easy for people who maybe have a disability. It'll look at your content and see the quality of it. So it actually reads your content and it analyzes it, and it will figure out whether your website is being marketed well online. So this tool is really powerful, and one of the things you can do is you can do a side-by-side comparison with you against 1 or 2 other competitors. So, at a quick snapshot, you can see, all right, I see I'm a little bit behind on the technology, and the reason why is that, I'm not accessible to people. I just don't have all the things that make me compliant online. So a review of the website against best practice quickly highlights the issues that you would look at. Now, one of the tools that we can use is called SEMrush. This tool is quite powerful. It works pretty well in a lot of countries. And what you can do is you can type in a company's website address. So I took Expedia in this case. And, in a minute, less than a minute, it'll tell you that this website has 15 million keywords. No, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what that is. But the keywords there has got 1.1 million keywords that are ranking on Google's top 20 on the first 2 pages of Google, right? And if they had to buy that traffic, it would cost them 24 million to buy those visitors. Now on paid search, they have 225,000 keywords that they are targeting, and the cost is $2 million in a month that they are spending in driving traffic. So you can see just already, if I look at this, I start to see, okay, so the organic search is working really well. They don't need to spend too much money buying traffic if they're controlling these positions. So they can reduce their ad spend. Whereas if you didn't have good traffic, it could take you a while to get there. So you'd have to increase your ad spend to close this gap. Now, one of the key indicators on search engine marketing is backlinks. And there's a lot of stuff written out there about, this is the downfall of people when they're buying links, but it is still the metric that Google uses is the quality backlinks that come. It's a voting system. Who out there, 5.5 million websites, domains, here they are, that refer to Expedia using the keyword cheap airplane tickets, hotel bookings, that type of stuff. And of course, we see they're not involved in any display ads. So we can really, work out and say, right, I can see their budget, their budget percentage, how it's being spent. And here by country, you can almost see that, okay, so you see this would be Italy. There's a green one, so they're spending some money in Italy, and I think that's the Netherlands. So that information in the dashboard is quite interesting. So if I wanted to have a look a little bit deeper at the AdWords, I could drop down and have a look at all 225,000 ads keywords. That's a lot of stuff to read through. So here are the top ones that they are targeting. We can see that there is this much volume on Google a month. 90,000 people a month are looking for cruise deals. And the cost would be $2.99 if I had to buy that traffic. And we can see that what they are doing, that 153,000 keywords are ranking in the first 3. So it's very apparent that Expedia is saying, we want to be at the top of the Google no matter how much it's costing us. They're throwing money at it, and all of these other guys, their competitors, just maybe don't have that. They're not going to get up to that space. So when we look at this, this gives us a bit of an idea. So we say, okay, so what do your ads look like? I want to see, because I've looked at my ads, and they're not always getting the best click-throughs. So I look through here, and I can see, wow, Expedia guarantees the best price, best rates or a refund, plus a $50 coupon, exclusive savings, best price guaranteed. So you can see what's coming through here, best price guaranteed, money back, coupons. Why are they doing this? Well, because, as travelers, you and I, we want to make sure we're getting the best deal, and these guys are standing behind it. They're driving a lot of traffic. So if you don't offer this, you might be wondering why you're not doing so well. So it's not always about being first on Google. Next thing, we're going to look at the search activity. So they have over 1 million keywords ranking on the first 2 pages of Google. Well, here they are. You can see 172,000 in the top 3 results. 570 in the first page, and then in the second page another 329. Now we know that we don't very often go past the first page of Google. So what I want to do is I want to drill down and have a look at these keywords and see which ones are working well. Now look at this. You can see the traffic. Now that for their own name, there is a lot of traffic out there, and they'll take an ad and they'll pay 10 cents for that. But a trick here would be just to bid on their name. So anybody who looks for Expedia and you're in travel, you're only going to be fighting the 10-cent bid, and your name can come up and you can say, hey, we can book travel. So this happens a lot where people, bid on other people's names, but they don't really realize that they can do that, for one, or two, that it's really cheap, and you can work off this person's marketing. So little tricks and strategies come out of that. So when I look at all the keywords, I can see the position in Google that they are ranking in, and we download this into a spreadsheet, and we can see how much traffic they can get from it. And if we had to buy that traffic, $1.43, and this is how much we're getting through. 0.86% of our traffic will come from that keyword phrase. So you might have just thought it was just about booking and that, but there's a million keywords out there, and we don't know enough about that. So moving on, you say, okay, so we've now collected this information. So what are you doing online? I want to see, who you're connected with on Facebook, and who's sharing your content. Which social media channel works well for a travel booking site. And what is really interesting here, and QuickSprout is a free tool. The other SEMrush is $250 a month. And WebScan's also going to cost you some dollars per month. And so what I notice here is that 95% of their content is shared on Google+. And a lot of us think that Google+ is not the place to be. Well, I can tell you now that if you're on Google+, Google actually presents those results on search engine marketing, on SEO. So they might not be using this as more as a networking thing, but they could be using it as another search result that they're getting. So quickly here you can see nearly 9 million shares on the pages. So yeah, they're active on social media. So do you want to find out what their best content is? Here's a cool tool, BuzzSumo, free for 14 days, and then it's $99 a month. And you can put in anybody's URL, and what will it spit out? The best content that's shared. So you'll see this donation, incredible hotel deals, really works well on Facebook, this guy. And Google Plus, look at that, this incredible deals. So let's say you're in travel, and maybe you're just in a bed and breakfast. Well, why not start putting your incredible deals, market them on Google Plus, because you can see this is how it gets shared. So in order of all of these searches, you can get an idea of the type of content that maybe you should be focusing on. Then we can do a manual review, because these tools are pretty cool, but they're not a human being, so they don't really look at it like I would maybe. So I then evaluate each client, and this dotted line would be, let's say, my customer, and the other lines are the competitors. So we look at your website and a few things. Is the communication clear? Can I actually figure out what it is that you're doing? Is there branding consistency? So is your images all fit in, give a good image? How easy is it for me to find this information, navigation? Are you optimized in a way that, if I look and type in these keywords, because sometimes you don't really know until you test it, and then, what content? So here's a gap, you see. This client of mine not doing too well with content. And do you have analytics, and are you really measuring it? So, this is looking at, again, against best practice. So what are we going to do now is, how do we figure out, what needs to do? Because even though I give you all the tools, how do you know, what to do? So what do we do here is we grab these 1 million keywords, organic, and then we grab, the 100,000 AdWords, and then we also take all the links and how people are linking to you. And when we're lucky in South Africa, we have electricity. And then I put this into our washing machine, and what do we get? We analyze all of this, and we come out with a dashboard. Okay, now on one screen, I can tell you quite a lot. Right? So this was an exercise that I did for a client that wanted to build an online cigar store. Right? So they didn't have it yet. They said to me, what does it take to do this? So we analyze competitors on 3 things. One is their search visibility. So along I learned the other day, I think it's x-axis across, or y, no, I don't know. So along this axis, you're going to see how well they do in search. So this company here is got the best search results, and we know they're using AdWords and organic search. And this company might just be buying AdWords and not using organic. So along this line, you're doing well in search. Along this axis going up here, what is your social impact? So how well are you doing on all the social media channels? So the higher up you here, you're doing really cool on social media. And the size of the bubble tells us is based on how much content you are using on your web presence. All right, so this is like really important to know that this company here, when I look at it, it's got a lot of content on blogs and on social media, and that content is optimized. So they don't have to spend maybe a lot of money on Google AdWords, and they do this. So we did another one for a dentist, and here he is, green dot, not doing too well, okay, in the middle of the road over here. And we say, all right, this is what your competitors are doing. And even a small dentist can have a lot of content because, before we go to the dentist, there's a lot of questions. We want to know if it's going to hurt for first things first, and what whether teeth whitening is good for us and all the bleach and everything. So if you're not educating people, you're not really getting in front of them and teaching them this stuff. So of course, we can show you, okay, doctor, this is where you're at. You've got a big gap here. So the quickest way to get you over here is let's go and look at the keywords these guys are targeting and maybe buy them on AdWords. So you're going to get some leads and then start working on your social media as well as your SEO. So on one dashboard, I can show this to an executive and we can have a good conversation and we don't get stuck on any technical things. Because much as many people think that as internet consultants we're technical, we're not. We're marketing people. So we just really understand marketing and how to do it online. Well, one of the challenges that we face is, we ask a client, how much money have you got? I mean, what's your budget, your marketing budget? And clients won't tell us always because they feel we're just going to spend it all. And they'll ask us, well, what do you recommend? Well, it's quite difficult to recommend a budget if you haven't really worked out what your competition is doing and where you want to fit up against them. So when you look at the type of reports that we can pull out for you to make these decisions, informed decisions, WebScan will quickly tell you, where your website needs to be fixed because you're not giving a good experience. So, that's quite simple. You've got it all there, and we can then give you a proposal to fix it up. You can then go for a more comprehensive report. And some of the stuff that we do can be, you can see here, 40 pages, covers every area. And another tool, Screaming Frog, we can run it against, and it'll tell us, wow, this is what's wrong on your website very rapidly. So, these tools save us time. That's really what it's about. Otherwise, you would dig in there, and you need to have a lot of knowledge. So it'll tell us, what's missing, how to make fixes to that channel. And then we'll take, this dashboard that Search Engine SEMrush does, and I will then look at the keywords that we need to focus on. And in this case, it was a call recording software, and we'll tell the client, these are the keywords, the top 10 keywords that this competitor is ranking for. That's the positions they are on, and this is how much traffic they're getting. So what do? We take some of this info, and we say, okay, now we know. We need to at least position ourselves at the same place at the same time. The next thing is we look at the content. So we go and count how many pages are on your website, on your blog, PDFs and images. So you'll quickly see whether a company like this is really doing well. They realize that content is key, and images, certainly on social media, really creates good engagement. So you learn that you have to do that. So we bring out this report. It's got a whole lot of pages, but really graphics that help you, as an executive or a business owner, you can see, oh, here's where I'm overlapping. These are, where I'm below, and this is what I have to do. Excuse me. So this report, what we'll do is we will give you some recommendations, and we'll say, this is the suggested keywords that you should focus on immediately. Not the 1 million, here are 40. And if we analyze them and we look at them, it's quite easy. We can give them to our copywriters. This is what type of content that they can write. And then here's your fixes, so you want to fix your website. This is what's wrong with it, and this is how much money it's going to cost you. So slowly but surely, we're building up a budget for you. And this budget is taking where you are in conjunction with your competitor, and we can give you 3 budgets, a good, better, and a best. And we'll be positioned month on month, and we can bring in the different things like, okay, you need a new website because your technology is so old, it doesn't matter what you do to it. You can't integrate it with social media, so you're not going to do really well. And you might have 100 pages on your website. Well, let's fix that. And let's build these links. This is your voting system. How do we get, these keywords ranked? And then, of course, local search and everything else that goes with it. A lot of people use reviews to decide on, who they want to connect with. And then so on. Do you need a plan? Let's write some content and monthly put this in place. And you can come up with a budget and you say, wow, I can't afford $2,600. And so what can I do for $1,200? Well, your consultant will say, what do you need first? Do you need leads? Let's spend the $1,200 on Google Ads or on search engine marketing. So for those of you out there that are not certain, about how much you should spend, or whether you're actually spending enough, or whether you are big enough to compete with an Amazon, you quickly find out and you start to cherry pick the different places. So this is, in summary, for what I've been describing to you, is you need a good web presence. Build it for your target market. Help them with good content. Okay, that's really what creates conversion into clients. Make sure that you are involved in a conversation and a location over here, and you can put a good strategy together. So Cheryl, I think I'm going to hand back to you to see if there are any questions that we can answer. Let's see if you're online.
Yep, I'm back.
Great.
Yeah, we've got some questions here, and remember to type them in case you want. You've got Francois for a limited time to get them answered. But one of the ones that did come through was the competitive research. How often would you recommend that you do that? I mean, obviously you start with an initial report, but how often would you keep looking at your competitors?
It's a great question. So, you know, this dashboard here helps you look at it. So if you take a snapshot here, you can do a refresh every 3 months or every 6 months. And what will happen is if you implement what your consultant has proposed, you should see an improvement. You know, if you don't, then you'll quickly know something's not working. So this dot would move. Better still, we might see that this person here is also starting to make a move. And you know, without the snapshot, you're not always aware of the tricks that people can use to do that. So I would recommend if you're in a largest company, you probably want to do it every 90 days. And you know, in a organization, you know, even if you have you're already with another digital agency, you could just use this as an audit. You know, it just gives you a good view of whether, you know, you're doing the right thing. And you, in this report, we give you all the recommendations, and you would give that to your agency and get them to fix it, you know, in that line, because not always do people have the resources and the tools that maybe a company like WSI have, you know, to extract this information. Thank you, Cheryl.
Great, and I think just in mentioning the tools, obviously you went through a lot of different tools. Do you recommend that individual companies would subscribe to these and actually conduct their own competitive analysis, or is there a way that they can tap in these tools in another manner?
Yeah, great. You know, so all of these tools, everybody online wants to make money, so they have a subscription, you know, monthly subscription. So just what I showed you here, you know, I do maybe 5 or 6 of these a month. So my tools cost me about $800 a month. And so it's okay, you know, because I'm in that business and I can use it. But if you're a client and you're doing it once off, you know, why would you want to spend that money? You're just really getting a lot of information. You still have to analyze it. So if you're not using, you know, if you're not, you know, an expert in digital marketing, sometimes you wouldn't pick up some of the things. It'll really help you with keywords. I mean, it'll also verify things. So I would think that, you know, buy the tool if you find you have to do this often. But certainly, you know, this is a job that you'd outsource. It's much like a way of saying to your marketing company, why don't you go and do a marketing survey for me? I mean, you wouldn't go stand on the street and ask everyone all these questions. You'd send, you know, people out there and pay them to do that. So I wouldn't recommend buying it unless you felt you had to, you know, you had a good option every month to use it. Thanks, Cheryl.
Great. A couple questions came in just around some of the, when you're talking about some of the content marketing stuff, and one was around specifically when you talk about blogging it and it being a component of your website nowadays, is there a recommended frequency that you recommend to your clients on blogging to make sure it's as effective as it can be?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that Google determines on a website and how it ranks is how often you update it. So if you don't update your website, you know, for 3 months, Google just won't come and visit your website for 3 months. So it's not thinking you're important. So to update a website, you know, certainly if you only have 5 products, you know, you're going to wonder, what can I put on there? So that's why, you know, having the questions and blogging them out is the ideal thing. Now, it's not about, you know, going crazy with blogging. But certainly, you know, what we see is that once you get to about, you know, 35, 40 posts, things start to happen. You start ranking a lot, you know, for many keyword phrases, long-term keyword phrases. But I would guess, you know, at least 2 blog posts a month will show that you're a company that has something of substance and things are happening there. So I would say 2 blogs and then use that to promote on social media. Thank you.
Great. And sorry, there was a question around some of the social channels. I think you mentioned 5 or 6 main ones. Can you just repeat those again? And specifically, there was a question on, are there ones that you would use over the others for certain content?
Okay. So certainly, you know, what I look at is if you are in a business-to-consumer market, so you're selling to individuals, like cell phones and flowers and stuff like that, then you're going to find Facebook is going to work really well for you because that's how you get to the consumer, and it's always with images and specials and, you know, get them engaged. If you are a business-to-business, and in many cases that's like WSI consultants, we engage with other business people. It's very hard for us to use Facebook to target you and find, people in marketing in a certain area. LinkedIn works really well there. So LinkedIn is good for business-to-business marketing. So if you're in both, for instance, you were looking for partners, then you would go into LinkedIn to do that, and you were selling stuff to individuals, you will use Facebook. Twitter is really a great listening tool. So you can listen to conversations going out there, and also it's a great way to share your content. But, write something on a blog post and share it on Twitter. Then on Google+, Google is pretty much forcing us to use it. Because if you don't use it, you're just not going to feature on Google. It's as simple as that. So if you want to get more rankings on Google, think about putting content on there using keywords, and each one of those posts will be an entry in Google for you. So that's how you can pick that up. Of course, YouTube can work if you've got content to help people, know how to use your stuff from that aspect. And then there's another two that I haven't got on here, Instagram and Pinterest. Really, if you've got a product, that images do well, you'll be amazed at what traffic, Pinterest can drive for you. And also, the thing with Instagram, you can encourage your community to get involved and share their content. There's nothing better than getting someone else to provide their content to you. You don't have to write all of it. So I would recommend, the 6 would be, I would add to YouTube here, I would add Pinterest to that. Thank you, Cheryl.
And I know when you were talking about some of the content stuff or the areas of consideration, one person was asking about inbound content, and if you can just reiterate again what you meant by inbound.
So inbound content is really important. So let me see if I can just show you an example, if it's quick enough for me to do that. So I'll show you one of our websites, a quick one. So here is a luxury hotel accommodation. It's just an apartment. So if you look at this, it's pretty basic, with the keywords. But the secret that many people don't know, that if you scroll to the bottom and click on the article map, you will see many, many articles that are in this map specifically to this luxury apartment. And if you look at each one of these entries, which are articles that we write, you'll see that we are being really specific about targeting people before they even thought about the place. So here's a trick that we use, and you're welcome to look at this, casaplayer.co.za. This strategy has doubled this guy's occupancy within a year, without fail. Not fooling around on search. What do we do? He says, I'm really enjoying what you're doing. How can we improve it? So I said to him, well, why don't we target your top 10 competitors and promote them? So I'm just looking for them over here quickly. I'm sorry I have to do this. So what we would do, the pearls. So we know by looking online that people are typing in the pearls. It's a very famous place. So what do? We write a great article about the pearls. We tell them it's a great destination. It's upmarket, one of the best. And then we pull Amazon on them. Casaplayer, one of Durban's best kept secrets, give us a, check for online bookings. This one page generates 28 proposals, quotes. So, when you look at it, you're thinking, all right, so what's my content strategy for this organization? What do? I said, people travel to the city. Why do they go there? They go there to skydive, to rent a boat, to run a race. So you have to think a little bit out the box. So that's what you do with content marketing. Just another quick one, a web, for a Minuteman Press, which is an international brand. We would write one article per franchise, and we would target keywords where people are looking for that. And every month there's another article that will go. So we'll take each one of their products and do this. So this blog has over 7,000 posts, and it generates about 180 leads a month just through content marketing, nothing fancy with search. Thank you, Cheryl.
Great. And so, where would you point them to just even start thinking about where they would get started on a content marketing strategy like this?
Well, I guess one of the things with a content marketing strategy is to take your persona and figure out what do they need to know about using your products. So teach them, because people don't want a salesman right up front. They go online to do some research. That's why I have this awareness thing here. When I'm looking for stuff, I don't really want a salesman. So if I jump in front of you and try and sell you something, I put you off. If I educate you, I'm helping you make a decision. And if I'm influencing your decisions early on, that is the way. So one of the things is write down all the questions that people ask you and tell the truth about it. And then plan a content strategy around events that happen in your business. If you just Google content calendars, you will see many articles out there. You can get a good idea. But one of the things is your WSI consultant can help you, because they would do a keyword research, uncover the 10,000 keywords that you should be targeting, sort them into category order for you, and then say, you know what, here's 50 blog posts you should be looking at writing. If you have the expertise, you write it, and in some cases you can outsource it. Thanks, Cheryl.
Great. And I think just one final question. I mean, obviously a lot of the information that is able to be pulled from some of these tools is, people may think is, maybe going against some of the ethical or privacy issues on just knowing this much about your competitors. Is there any issues on that standpoint that people need to be concerned about?
Yeah, quite often I speak to people and they say, oh, that's not right, that somebody can, just really look at, at what I'm doing. It's my competitive advantage. But unfortunately, everything online is recorded. We know that even on Facebook, when we put all our information into Facebook, Facebook sells that information to people who advertise to you. So, one of the things is you should be saying to Facebook, I'm going to charge you. You shouldn't be using my information. But because many of us don't read the terms and conditions, it doesn't do much about it. I've got a funny feeling that Facebook is reading my contacts on my phone, because I meet somebody and I don't even communicate with them online, and yet today it'll tell me, don't you know this person? And yet it's on my phone. But I use Facebook on my phone, and maybe I haven't switched off things in there that says you're allowed to look at that. So I think a lot of it is, if you don't have a presence online, it's quite suspicious. You wonder why you can't find something. So unfortunately, these tools are there. If you close your ears to them, I guess, it could be to your disadvantage. Everyone can use them, so it's worthwhile doing it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Francois. So I think I'm just going to summarize and close out the webinar. So if you can just come up and bring out our final slides. So one of the things that I obviously want to make sure everyone knows, and I mentioned it very quickly in Francois' kind of intro, but WSI did release a book on digital marketing called Digital Minds, 12 Things Every Business Needs to Know About Digital Marketing. So if you haven't had a chance to pick up a copy or download the ebook version, I encourage you to do so. It is a great read on all the various digital marketing tactics you can be leveraging in your business. Also, as a thank you for attending this webinar, we do have a special offer we want to extend to all of our attendees, and that is a free site competitive analysis. And so this will be leveraging one of our tools, WebScan tools that Francois mentioned, and basically it's going to allow you to get a side-by-side snapshot of how your website compares against your biggest competitors. It'll quickly outline what your site's advantages and disadvantages are relative to your competitors and give you some insights on where improvements could be made to your website in the future. So if you're interested in learning how you can take advantage of this offer, you will receive a follow-up email from the consultant that referred you to this webinar with more details. Now, before we end this webinar, I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules for joining us here today, and a huge and special thank you to Francois for educating us all on the value of competitive research in your business. So thank you, Francois.
Thank you, Cheryl. It was an absolute pleasure.
Great. And in case you're looking for any additional resources around gaining a competitive advantage, we encourage you to have a look at some of the additional resources we have released this month. One is our infographic that is entitled How to Kiss Your Competitive Edge Goodbye, which is kind of a tongue-in-cheek approach on showing you how other businesses are failing in the comparison game and how you can use their mistakes to your advantage. And also we did release a cheat sheet entitled The Science Behind Creating Buyer Personas, which Francois talked about when he's talking about content marketing strategies, the importance of creating those personas. So it really breaks down those steps you need to take to create those for you. Last but not least, if you happen to have any questions following this webinar that we couldn't get to today or pop up after the fact, don't worry. Just make sure you reach out to your consultant. They're your guides to make sure that you get all your questions answered. So I'd like to, again, just thank everyone for attending. I look forward to seeing you all back on our next Digital Power Hour Series webinar, which is happening Tuesday, April 18th, when we're talking about how to increase your brand promotion. So until then, thanks again on behalf of WSI for attending the webinar, and I wish everyone a happy day.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.